Yo, what is up, guys? Hope you are all good. Welcome to another episode of the Beyond the Bow Shorts podcast.
After
And
dark, after dark, after dark is
yeah,
exclusive.
look behind me, man. It's dark, bro.
Yeah.
Dark as hell. It's 10 p.m. here, lads. 10 p.m. But the reason why,
Hello, it's 10 p.m. and we've also filmed a podcast earlier today as well.
yeah, we're on a next level grind. You can't outwork us. What?
That's
You
it.
can't outwork us. We're on a different level, bro. But and we see one businesses as well. So when you guys and we've been to the gym and we're both on prep.
Yep, yep.
When you guys telling me I can't do this because of this, that, the other, shut up. You know what I mean? You're
Hey,
chatting. You're chatting. You just make it work. Get up early, do what you need to do. But,
trust
you know
me.
what I'm saying? But yeah, no. So we have actually a special guest on today. And the reason why we are doing it at 10 p.m. is
I'm very
because
interested.
the guy that we have on is from the States. So again, because of the time difference, we need to do what we need to do so we can get him on. So this guy's story is gonna be very valuable. I'm gonna wait for him to come on so he can obviously speak more about himself. But how you doing, James? How's things?
Good, man. I had a high day of food today. Probably like 40% extra carbs, bit less protein.
Nice.
Um,
More food. More of the current food, yeah?
yeah, all the same food. The week before last, I had a Five Guys. That was good.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's good. You know when he said, "Oh, you're gonna probably do a feed again," I was like, "Okay, cool." Thinking I'm gonna get another one.
He said, nope, not today.
He said potentially again because it was a little one today. So my rice is at like 200 per meal. So today I had like 300. Chicken was at 200. Go down to 150. So hopefully we still see a drop tomorrow. Check in again, and hopefully run another day. But to be honest, I'm right now. I'm not really bothered. I just want to get the job done. Like I'm actually itching. I want to get going. Seeing the
Yeah,
Arnold's, and just being on a podcast with the boys earlier.
yeah.
I'm just ready to. I just want to go.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, even the session I just had, man, I felt super strong, man, fueled up against just based off the energy and the vibe that we had earlier in the session, like you just earlier in the podcast today. Just, when you're around like-minded people, like everyone's like, hunting to achieve different things, it definitely pushes you to also want to take it to the next level. And I'm obviously one of the guys that I'm very motivated anyways, but like having that extra bit of motivation definitely makes a big difference, man.
I
Yeah,
always remind clients that motivation doesn't last.
doesn't.
Don't get me wrong, like I'm buzzing for it. But
Yeah,
another
discipline, man.
4, 5, 6 weeks, I'm gonna be like, oh, should I be prepping? Is it the right thing to do?
Yeah, I hear you.
You build those. Like, my routine has been like top tier. So
See
like
it.
dog walk, bike, then I get on a treadmill, do more steps. I'm at like 5, 6K before by 8 a.m.
Oh no, shit.
Um,
That's one thing
eat,
I need to get, man. I need to
yeah,
get that walking pad because I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie. Like when I've got like a big day of work, bro, like right now, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I still have steps to do.
bro.
So after this, I'm gonna do some more steps. It's
I've got
crazy.
I've actually got the desk that goes up and down.
Yeah, I've got one too.
But I did try to. It's hard to work. To
Yeah,
be
that's the thing.
and
I'm
typing,
walking.
it's hard. So what I've been doing is, so like I send all my check-in feedback, and I know everyone responds. Then I get on the treadmill when I get to the gym, and I normally do like a voice note or text replies there. So then
Yeah,
it's like it's all
yeah,
tracked out. So these
yeah,
have been like so much better. So I'm actually very happy with the routine. I just need to keep it
yeah.
going.
Because I'm
So
still early. Yeah, I think because I'm still early in prep. I mean, I'm only like a week and a half in. I'm still yet to just get that perfect structure because I feel like right now I'm just doing what I need to do. Like whatever it means, I'll just get like right now after this podcast, I'll be out walking at 11 p.m. bro. Just getting my steps in. I've got about 3 more K to do, so it's not that much, but still, that's half an hour walking.
chunk, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but I'll
But
get
it'll
it
pay
done.
off.
Like,
Pays off.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is about me, like, regardless, bro, I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter if I don't want to. I don't care.
We got a job to do.
We
Simple as
got a
that.
job to do. Simple as, bro. So,
Like I feel like when you get to a show,
yeah,
and no matter what the result is, if you've gone, I ticked every fucking box. I trained as hard as I possibly could. I did everything the coach asked. He obviously give you feedback, and I'm sure you're like myself. You um say how you feel, or what do you want to try things or whatever, and you've got your own
100%.
ideas as well.
Yeah.
But then, like at the end of the day, if you've done everything, it is what it is, and you either lost to the better guy or whatever the situation may be. They're going for a different look, or you're not ready, or they're just quite simply. Sometimes they're just people are just better.
That's it. And then you just got to accept it. But yeah. I mean, that's where the whole like no stones unturned come from, man. It's doing everything you possibly can. And then look, and the results is the results. As long as you've done everything you can, that's all you can do, man. And then you go in there, regardless of the results, you're satisfied by your efforts. And that's the mentality that I have, man. You go in there and just leave it all and be like, yo, man, I've done my best. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so but yeah, I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a good year. I took some post-workout shots today. Still fat, but close enough. Still fat. So I wasn't really happy with the shots, but yeah, man. But you definitely can see the improvements, which is good.
Feel like you get like a few more kilos off,
Yeah,
and then
man.
like yesterday, like one time you take a picture. Oh
I actually
shit!
look good now.
Yeah, I'm actually like it's actually paying off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'd say give me another maybe by the start of April. By the start of April, everything should
Yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's like 5.5, 6 weeks. So I'd
Yeah.
like to your
I would have chopped off a little bit more body fat.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and you've got less to come off than I've had. I have.
Yeah, well, you say that because now you're what was it, 104?
Yeah,
But you're still quite lean.
I reckon at least another 10.
Another 10, bro.
10, yeah.
From where you are right now. I don't know.
I was first show before filling 91, and that was only like 6 months ago. So
Yeah, but do you know when you started prep last year? Were you in the similar condition as you are for starting this one?
I'm bigger this year and probably better condition starting this year.
Because I'm not gonna lie, seeing your condition in that last post, I mean, you can get 10 kilos off you, which I guess
Yeah,
will make you shredded, yeah.
10 kilo light work.
Yeah, but it's more like I think that's all you need, really, to be honest. I don't think you need any more than that.
Bro, if I could be 94 pre, registration check-in before the carbs go in and be peeled,
Yeah,
I'll take it. I don't care the result.
I think that's where you're gonna be, to be honest. All right, I think Drew is waiting here for us now, to be honest.
Yeah, he just said he had some technical difficulties, but he's on.
All right, let's let him in. All right, guys. So, I just kind of baited who we have on, but
They're going to see in the thumbnail anyway, so let's get him.
Drew Cullen, let's get him in, chuck him in. Let's see what it's about. All right, let's get the mic. Once we wait for the mic, hello, hello. Got some dog in the background.
Let's see here.
There we go.
What's up, guys? Trying to connect this my headphones real quick so I can hear.
All good, bro.
I always have a problem when I do this, even with NPR.
Yeah. Mom's got a strong beard going
Probably
on.
help to turn these on.
That beard, yeah, it's solid.
Solid beard.
I'm good.
Can you hear us?
Yo. Yeah, I could hear you.
Nice one, man. Nice to meet you, Drew.
You too, man. How are you guys doing?
Very good, man. You got a solid beard going on, man.
Yeah, I know. I got to keep it. Maybe I'm going to bring it to the stage this year. I announced that I'm doing the Toronto Pro again, and that was a decision that wasn't really set in stone until I got to see the progression that I was making. And, we're ahead of schedule. So I'm like, you know what, let's jump into the show and defend it, and I've never done a show before to where I'm the champ, but don't get it twisted. I'm still coming in like I'm the underdog. I still got to do it, still got to keep that mindset.
When is the Toronto Pro?
It's 13 weeks out, so June 8th, and it's a Sunday show, which helps for me because I'm right at my weight cap. So being 5'10", 202, it's difficult, especially when I'm usually my best at 209. So having 2 days to fill out is a lot better than less than 24 hours. So I could really nail that look.
Yeah,
well, I'm hoping to be at that show as well, so we finally get to meet.
Hey,
oh yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah,
are you going to compete? Are you thinking of competing in it or just going?
I'm hoping to compete in it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's one on my list. So Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good to finally meet
Good, yeah,
and see
man.
where I stand with the big boys.
Yeah, it's a good show, man. You know, the production, and I will say, Canadian shows are pretty dope.
Nice.
The way that the fans treat you. I mean, because there's not many shows out in Canada. You know, you got
Mm,
Vancouver, and then you got Toronto. And I would say out of the two, Toronto has a bigger venue. It's a lot. I don't know, a lot more fitness enthusiasts go,
mm,
and it's a big venue, a lot of fans, and I would say majority of my fans are from Canada, so it keeps me motivated. It's nice being able to interact with people, and you know, my goal is never to inspire, but the fact that people come up to me and say, "Hey, I did inspire them to do a show or whatever it may be," it's a good humbling feeling. So it makes me
yeah.
feel like I'm doing something right, and it's not just for myself.
100%, because whenever I'm doing my cardio, I will catch up with NPR, so I see what you
Yeah,
guys are doing, and that's kind of like part of the reason why we got started. What we're doing here, we're seeing you guys
Yeah.
doing it there in the States, and we're like, oh, we can do it over here as well. There's nothing really, there wasn't anything documenting the men's physique as much over here. So here we
yeah.
are. Here we
I
are.
love seeing you guys covering it. You know, it's a lot of the times when one trend starts going, it gets oversaturated. And the biggest message I want to give to the people that are starting podcasts is talk about different stuff, have your own personality. Don't do the
Mm,
same exact things that everybody else is doing, because when people want to tune into your channel, they want to hear your views, and it has to be a little bit different. You know, like for example, when somebody like talked about when Sam Sulek was on stage, then everybody's talking about it. You got to kind of keep it, you know,
different.
versatile. You can't always do the same thing. You know, maybe it's answering fan messages or criticizing a physique in a certain way, amateurs, pros, whatever it may be. I know Coach's Corner with Ben Quill.
Yeah.
He does a lot of random call-ins on live with posing and critiques, and then they do the rating, and it's their thing. You know, it's cool.
Yeah.
So it's even cooler to be a little bit different in that aspect, and having three different personalities on that podcast
Yeah.
is what kind of makes us. You know, you got three champions, including a Mr. O champion
Oh,
from 2022. You know, Aaron Banks. You know, he's a fan favorite. You know,
yeah.
so hit or miss, but that's the thing. It's quality in between all our personalities.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. I mean, we try to just do a lot of like interviews as well. So like we speak to people like you, but also try to get like the story behind like who you are. Because everyone sees you, Drew, as like, the men's physique competitor, the guy, like, you're winning shows. But who is actually who is Drew? Do you know what I mean? We're trying to see who
Yeah.
the guy is behind all the accolades. And that's one of the things I say we do a lot of, because we've interviewed, I don't know if you know his name is Big Black Gadaman on Instagram.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've interviewed him, and he's got a wild
Is
story.
that Jeffrey Darko?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeffrey Darko.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's got a
Yeah.
wild story. So like we've interviewed him, like all the guys that have crazy, interesting stories, because I think it's really interesting to see what other people has gone through and then what they've overcome and how like fitness or bodybuilding has helped them overcome certain things. Because we all have stories. You know what I mean? We all
Yep.
have stories. But the thing is, with bodybuilding, you have a certain mindset that can really transfer into other areas of your life. So, oh, oh shit, my phone's gone off. Babe, babe, my phone's died.
I couldn't get the mic.
We're back.
Now,
Sorry about that, guys.
We're good.
Sorry. My phone died. Hello.
oh, I don't think he's there yet.
I'm here.
Yeah, he's running off hotspot.
Yeah, man. 'Cause I'm
Oh, you said your phone died? Oh,
yeah,
that's an easier solution. That's not the connection.
no. That was my
Okay.
phone. Cool. Babe.
No, you're good. You were talking about, starting this, like, understanding people's personality. Everybody sees the accolades and
Yeah, but
the
that's
champion
it.
mindset mentality, but it's more to that, like what led up to it. And I have, a pretty wild story, I would think. And I don't really understand how I got to this point until I start really looking back and I see it. Obviously my family and my mom, she's like, oh, you always, were destined to do something like this. And it's like, yeah, but everybody's mother's going to say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of, once you make it to a certain point to where I'm living my dream right now,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. I don't know if I could do it again if I started, if I went back in time. It's very hard. I think a lot of it has to do with the right timing,
Yeah.
um, with a lot of things as well. So, it's definitely pretty interesting, to say the least. And this interesting story that's just started.
Well, that's it. So
Let's take it back. Let's take it back to the beginning. So, like, for me, I got started into like fitness through football, and then it was just the natural progression. I couldn't play football and bodybuilding at the same time, so like one had to go. So here we are. So, like, what got you into sort of fitness?
So when I was younger, I wrestled all my life since I was 5. I was always a really hyper kid. I had ADD. The teachers always wanted to medicate me because it's an easier out. You're a younger kid. They wanted to bring my parents in for the parent teacher conference and medicate me to make their jobs easier, which I don't believe, but I was just a normal kid. What kid isn't hyper?
Yeah.
So instead of being medicated, my parents put me into wrestling, and, a one-on-one sport. It isn't a team sport. I was never a team player, so to speak, because if one person did bad, it like sucked for me when it wasn't ultimately my fault. Right. So I got into wrestling, and, it was an outlet for me, but I was always really skinny, and obviously in wrestling, I had to start making weight. So when I got up to like, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and then, even high school, I was made fun of a lot. I used to post, the selfies in the mirror with the flip phone, and, I was a skinny kid with abs, but, that didn't count. But I always had these goals of being, I wouldn't say necessarily an Olympian, but I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I always watched the open guys. I remember watching Kai Green. I remember watching even Sergi Constance, a lot of the Gymshark guys. I watched the Hodge twins a lot on YouTube, Matt Ogus, Elliot Hulse, like a lot of the old school guys. Right.
Oh, geez.
And I would listen. I would listen to their stories, and it was always motivating. As a kid, you're very receptive to the things that are being, told to you, especially if you're looking up to one of these athletes and, looking at them. Some didn't even compete. I just liked the way that they looked. And it was always impressive to me of how far you could truly push the human body. And it's a physical representation of your hard work. So, I mean, everybody can look a certain point, but they got to be able to push themselves. So that's why I have a lot of respect for other athletes, aside from the ego that bodybuilding has. But being made fun of, I thought that, working out would make people respect me a little bit more, because I didn't get respect. And I think for the wrong reasons, I was trying to force people to respect me. And it's kind of weird, because the more you try to get somebody to respect you, the more they hate on you.
Yeah. True.
And I would say not even just people as like certain individuals, but just as a whole, like being in high school, posting, pictures of my physique update and just being a scrawny kid, I was just asking to be made fun of, but I did my own thing. I went to the beat of my own drum. I didn't have many friends. It wasn't because I couldn't have friends or couldn't get them. It just, I preferred to be alone. I was a very introverted person, and I still am to a degree. As I got older, I learned to share my stories with people. I didn't even realize how much of an influence I have on people's lives until the 2023 Olympia, when people were telling me how much I've really impacted them with injuries and whatever. But yeah, going back to high school, I wanted to get respect, and I started training. And the thing was, I wasn't getting bigger, I was getting stronger. So then I went into powerlifting, and I was setting powerlifting records. And I was a good squatter, a good deadlifter. My bench wasn't that good. I had long arms, and it was a mental thing for me, but squatting I was really good at. And yeah, the stronger I got, it just was like, I wasn't gaining any muscle. I'm like, wait a second, I want to be bigger. I'm only going to get respected if I'm physically bigger. Cause I used to watch WWE wrestlers, and I remember watching like all the jackets, like Batista. I'm like, they would always fuck up. I'm like, nobody wants to see the scrawny dude. I'm like, if I'm bigger, they won't fuck with me. So I started doing it to more or less prove people wrong. I wanted to be bigger so they wouldn't mess with me. It was for myself. Once I graduated high school, I actually graduated early. I graduated as a junior because I hated it so much. Obviously kids could be harsh and whatnot. And I did summer school so I could get out early, have my credits early. And once I was out, I continued powerlifting, but then I started really watching my diet. The lifting was all in check. It was like power building at that time, to where I was watching the Hodge twins and Elliot Hulse, and it was like heavy compound movements, but then I would do, other accepted movements to really shape and chase the pump. But then out how to diet correctly instead of eating 2 meals a day and intermittent fasting and all that. I started eating more because I had a very fast metabolism. That's when I really started to see the progress. And would go to the gym. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and his name is Brandon Hendrickson. And this was before he was anything really. I don't even think he was a pro, or he was a pro before he ever went Tampa Pro to go to the Olympia. But I worked out at Ironclad Fitness. I went in one day and he was like, "Hey man, you could do a show." And I'm like, "Really? You think so?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, you do the Chicago Pro Amateur," which is like obviously the amateur side of all these big shows. I had no idea what I was doing. I remember the first show I random chick that lived in the city that was near the venue. Yeah, once I was humbled by seeing how good these guys really looked, because Sergi Constance won that show that year, and he was an amateur, and I'm looking at him like in awe. But I'm thinking, I never got discouraged. I always thought that if I could see somebody do it, I could do it, because I overcame a lot of stuff. As far as being doubted, being hated, being made fun of, anything I put my mind to, I did. So I'm like, you know what? Instead of being discouraged and saying, "Nah, I'm not going to do this," I said, I want to really take this serious and just push myself. I learned more about dieting. I learned more about training the correct way to improve my weaknesses. I learned how to pose, and it was all things that I was self-taught. I went into the same exact show in 2017, which was 2 years later from that exact show, and I won the whole overall. Big. That's when I realized, okay, I got a thing for this. And then I went back into prep. 5 months from there, I did Miami Nationals back when I was in Miami, and I got fourth place in my first national show. And I was upset. I wasn't just excited to participate at nationals. I wanted to go pro, and I truly believe that I was a pro. I didn't have the status of being a pro yet. So I took more time off, came back, did junior nats in Chicago. I was third, still upset, but I'm just as far away from a pro card, because it's top 2 at nationals, but you got to win your class at junior nats. So, opposed to nationals, I was fourth. I was third at junior nats. So I really am still the same amount away. So I'm like, all right, went to Universe 2 weeks later, got fourth. I'm in the same position. Did USAs, I got fourth. I was known as the guy who got fourth at every show.
No.
Like, hey, you're that guy that gets fourth at every show. I'm serious. Like, they didn't even know my name. They're like, "You're the guy that gets fourth at every show." And I'm like, okay. Crazy. So I took the whole year off again, came back to junior nats. I was third again. I'm like, okay, wait a second. I'm reevaluating. I'm starting to doubt myself, because I'm like, it's enough to get into the first call up, but it's not enough to be in the top position. So what am I missing? I talked to a judge. Her name is Sheila Brown. She's a promoter of Texas. She's pose coach Dexter Jackson, Branch Warren, some of the greatest of all time. She pulls me aside. She goes, "You fix your back pose, you'll go pro in 2 weeks."
Oh shit.
All I had to do was lower my arms. Nobody ever told me this. I had to lower my arms, and my lats engaged more. And I ended up. Well, actually. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You would think it's like the littlest thing. I would always get this other feedback, but it was never just something that I could control that day. Ended up going to USA's 2 weeks later, and I ended up taking second, therefore getting my pro card. Sick. And let me tell you guys, I was so locked in and motivated to get this pro card and honestly, so hard on myself that when I got it by taking second, I was still pissed off. I felt like I lost because I still didn't win. That's how hard I was. Aaron Banks went second at that same exact show in 2019 USA's. And, look how far he's came, and I look at myself, I joined the league at that time, right in 2019, when I would say the sport was like at its peak with all the OGs like Andre Ferguson, Raymont, Brandon, all these guys.
Yeah.
The sport has just progressed ever since then. The guys have gotten bigger. They try to conceal the division with a weight cap. And I think it's a good thing. It gives us more to kind of, work towards, like peaking at a weight cap when we're all maxed out. I know Ryan Terry's maxed out. Ali's maxed out. Banks is now maxed. I think he's 4 ounces under based on the Arnold that he just did. I mean, all the top guys are maxed out, and they're keeping a cap on it for a reason, because they want to contain the look. And it's from there on out. Like when I first won the Chicago Pro, it was like self-validation that I belong in this league. It all came together, and I still felt like I was a nobody when I got to the Olympia level, because you start at the bottom. It's almost like you want to go pro, you go pro, then you start the bottom of the pro league. And then you want to be a first call out at the pro league. You finally win a pro show at the pro league. You start back at the bottom at the Olympia. So there's sectors and levels to this. And, it was impressive to see how many people knew who I was at the Olympia, because I never looked at myself as anything special. I don't think that bodybuilding necessarily is, the most watched sport of all professional sports, right? Like you can't compare it to football or baseball or any of those sports. But the biggest thing is making a difference, not just having a dope physique on stage, but having a personality that would be remembered, because we're not going to always look jacked and peeled and, whatnot on stage. And over time, I want to be healthy. Yeah. And being able to explain my experiences through a mic to reach people that are watching, thousands right now. Hopefully, maybe it'll be millions one day. My goal is just to have one person hear me or at least listen to it. Because when I was younger, I really wished that more pros did what we did. But, then again, it wasn't as popular then. YouTube, it was only a few people that did it. So, that's my message to the sport. And obviously the guys that I see a lot of myself in, like my younger self, I could pick up on the kids that are motivated. And by kids, like, I don't know, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are starting to do this and they doubt themselves because they're comparing their bodies to other guys on Instagram. And, you just got to stay at your own level.
Yeah, man, 100%. I mean, yeah, it's a crazy story because it's a story of perseverance. And I feel like we've interviewed a lot of people like similar like you, like where it's been a rough journey, man. It's not, I think everybody sees the finished product, but no one sees the lead up to it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I kind of, when was it? It must have been like 2023 when I started noticing you. And I think it was more when you were, I think you won your pro show. I think that was it. Or you were close to winning pro shows. You were close, and then all of a sudden you won it. And obviously that's when you were called more shredded. And then it was like, fuck is this shredded guy on my feet? Like, it's crazy. Absolutely huge. And then I was like, oh, this guy's got sick physique. And then I started watching your journey. And then it's been great to see how you've just kind of like taken off. But now understanding, the come up to it, man, it makes sense how your mentality is and how fixed you were, because you can see it, you just didn't stop, So yeah, man.
I mean, you got to remember, it took me 7 years or 8 years out of the 10 years I've been competing to go to the Olympia. It took 4 years to win my pro card from the time I started, and then another 4 to win a pro show. And then people only see you when you're doing good.
Pro show,
and like you guys said at the beginning, until you have like the resume, like nobody really sees you. And I always compare it to like Tom Brady, 6th round draft pick, right? Now the greatest of all time, and he had to work his way up. And usually when people get handed, I wouldn't even say handed, but when they go up the ranks very quick, they don't appreciate it as much. When I was so close, and I'll explain this. So the first year that I started being a breakout athlete was because the previous years I was so sick and tired of sitting second call out watching the guys in first. I was so tired of them. Like, I do everything these guys are doing. There's no reason I shouldn't be there. I gotta lock in more. And there was other things in my life that I wasn't dialing in 100%. I was just doing enough to be a top 10 pro. But I took a whole off season. I said, you know what, I'm getting a different coach. And I started working with Ariel. He says, hey man, I'm going to make you a star. I was like, I'm laughing. He goes, no, I'm serious. Just promise me that you always remain humble and coachable. And I said, oh, absolutely. And he's like, oh no, I'm serious. Like, he's saying this because he truly believed in me. And we started working, and I believe it was like 6 to 8 months. I did Palmetto Pro going into the show. Everybody's doing their predictions. I'm not even in the top 6. And I understand that because we always go off past results.
Yeah.
I ended up being center between Daniel Ammons and Chris Barr in the final call out. They brought off the top 3. And I was just happy to be in the top 3. I'm like, you know what? The goal was top 5 because I'm realistic with myself. Like the fact that I'm in the top 3, it's like, okay. So at finals, when they're doing the call outs, and then they put you back in line, and then they're doing, okay, 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place, Chris Barr. And then I'm like,
oh shit,
holy shit, I'm in the top 2. And then I'm like, if I win this, I don't got to do any other shows. I already had a list of shows planned out. I'm like, if I win this, I don't have to do. So when I was called for 2nd, I was actually upset. I'm like, you know what? I got a taste of what it's like to almost win. And from there on out, it made me strive even more. So, doing the mile high the next week, 3rd place, and then, being in the top 3 consistently. Vancouver was another 3rd place. And the weekend after, my coach Ariel wanted me to do Colombia. He even offered to pay for my travel and everything. We go, it has nothing to do with that, but I just don't want to go to Colombia. Vancouver was on a Sunday. Colombia, it would have gave me no time to really, get home or I would have had to fly directly there. And it was just a headache and find food and all of that. So I said, can I just do Chicago? It's in my own backyard, and that's the exact same show. That was my first show ever where I was last. It was my first overall. It's in Tinley Park Convention Center. It's, the show that I've really grown fond to doing. So, ended up going in that show, and I'm thinking, okay, you got Nick Coey, you got Alex Toplin, you got Javier, you got a lot of top 10 or top 15 Olympians, and then Nick Coey, who won the previous year, and he beat a Jeremy Potvin that was on fire. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, if I take third again, I'll be happy. So I end up ending center at that show. And then Ariel comes up to me and he's like, I don't want to step on any toes. You got this show. Like you just destroyed everybody. He has other clients in the show, so I get it, but they were all just as happy for me because they saw the grind all year. And I actually cried after prejudging, because when you just know when you end center, it's almost like, okay, like the results at the end didn't really surprise me because I knew how on I was. And Ariel was looking at me backstage, and he just remember I did some push-ups. I got up, he looked at my chest, looked at my core, and he goes, save your pump. He goes, dude, you look crazy. Save your pump. So don't want to over pump and kind of just, be a little bit inflamed. But he looked at me and he's like, that's it. So once I got that show, I didn't even expect to get it. And it just seemed to be perfect. My family was there. Ariel was at this show. He got to see me in person and got to enjoy it with me and enjoy the win. I got interviewed after by Bob Ciccarello, and Steve Weinberger judged me. So that was the big thing, to win in front of Steve. So it all came together for me, especially in my hometown. So that's when it all started for me. And it was unbelievable because I did 5 shows that year, and I'm like, wait a second, now I'm on the hook. I got to do the Olympia in 15 weeks. So, I was excited, but I did not expect to win that show. And, it just gave me more momentum going into more, because I was almost burning out. And then I got that jolt again. I got that new battery in me because I won, and I'm like, I'm on the map now.
Yeah.
So
straight away.
It was a cool experience.
What's up, guys? Hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Make sure you subscribe.
And while you're here, if you're interested in online coaching, whether you want to compete or simply get in the best shape of your life, hit us up on Instagram.
And if you want posing sessions or anything to do with your presentation, drop us a message on Motion Performance and we get back to you. Boom.
What was your first Olympia experience like?
My first Olympia experience, you know what? Like, a lot of people ask me, like, what does it feel like to be at the Olympia? And I always expected to go, especially like the year that I was starting to, be good. It wasn't about if I was going to go, it was about when. Mm-hmm. So when I went there, just being around these guys that knew who I was, like Jeremy Buendia knowing who I am, Ryan Terry knowing who I am, Banks, Brandon, obviously, like being around these guys, it was crazy. It's like, I belong here, and I proved that I belong here. So it wasn't about going and just participating. I know a lot of guys are just happy to go. My goal is to be top 15. And it still is, even with 2024, I know what I got to bring up. It keeps me even hungrier. If you're on top of the mountain, sometimes these guys tend to slack a little bit, but I always consider myself the dark horse because I know my work ethic. I know how fast I improve. I know how fast that my body responds to certain things. I got a really good relationship with my coach, and just in life in general, with family, friends, my girlfriend, like there's a lot of good things that are going that keep me locked in. And I'm grateful for that. Cause without that, I mean, it's not necessarily a team sport, but it's a team effort with the people that are in your circle. So it definitely helps. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, man. I say this to all the guys as well, man. Like you got to have like your environment on lock as well, because that dictates a lot, man. If you don't have, especially when it comes to prep and even in the off season, if your environment is pushing back on what you're trying to do, it's going to be really difficult for you to lock in. That's one thing that I make sure, like, luckily my partner, she's also an IFBB pro, so we understand the whole competing and the off season, but other people don't have that, and I used to just tell them, you need to have a nice balance. You need to have an understanding, environment and social, because look, if your missus is ordering pizzas every single day when you're trying to like prep for a show, man, that's not going to work out, man. So really, really important. One question I wanted to ask you, Drew, was you said like, when you won your first pro show, you said you cried. What was the reason why you cried?
Because I did it. It was like self-validation, like always chasing something and finally getting it, and getting it in a way that was way above, that exceeded all my expectations. Like Chicago, my home show, a big show too. It wasn't like he won this show just because nobody showed up. I came in with a look that was so good that, all due respect to the other competitors, I was so on that I made everybody else look off. It wasn't because everybody wasn't conditioned. I was just that much more conditioned, therefore exposing guys. I don't have the best back on stage. I definitely did not have the most developed, dense back on stage in Chicago. But because my conditioning was so good that it made up for the guys that did have a superior back to me. So I played my strengths and my weaknesses. I just am just like I am now. I'm still continuing to build them. But yeah, I mean, that experience just all coming together, and for all the years that I put into this, and the times I didn't want to train, or the times that, I struggle with the diet or the restless nights, it all was worth it in the end. And it's a feeling that unless you've experienced it yourself, I really can't explain it in words, because I don't even know how to explain it in words. It's just a crazy feeling. And then, yeah, it's a very crazy feeling. That's why you become even more addicted to it. So my second pro show win, like Toronto Pro last year, I mean, it was good, but nothing was like the first one. Nothing was like the first one. Now I know, after going the first time, I know that I could go as many times as I need to. I just need to improve and consistently improve. So now I know that I belong. Like, anybody could go to the Olympia once, or, I mean, not everybody, but going once, I mean, going twice is better. It almost like, okay, now I belong here, right? Like, there's a lot of guys that have gone on points in the past and they've never made it again. I didn't want to be the Vanilla Ice, the one hit wonder. So going back again, it justified me being there, being an Olympian, being a multiple time Olympian. And I think the third one's going to even be better. So
yeah, man.
I know, obviously, you've touched on being shot in the past. Not too long ago. So obviously, what I understand, you were unable to train, you were potentially unable to walk. How did that shake things up? Because obviously, going from that, not being able to do this, to then, living your dream, quite simply, and being able to go to Olympia, when I'm sure at one point you thought, shit, I may never train again, let alone compete and all the rest of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it changed my whole perspective on life in general. It changed the whole dynamic, my outlook. It changed my faith, the things that I believe in, the people that I thought were friends, the family members that I thought were there for me. I pretty much started back from like ground zero. It was such a terrible experience, but I would say in the long run is the experience that shaped me. So it's the worst thing that ever happened to me, but the best thing that ever happened to me at the same time. Not obviously something I would want to go through again, but that was needed to happen in order for me to be here right now. And I actually had this conversation with my parents the other day, because I traveled back there this past week, and we were kind of talking. I'm like, I don't think if I wasn't shot, I would be where I'm at right now. Who knows where I would be? Crazy. And when something, you don't really value something until it's taken away from you. It's like any sort of injury. Let's say you hurt your elbow and you can't do anything in the gym, or you're going somewhere, you hurt your leg and you can't walk, or you're going with a limp. Like, until something's taken away from you, you really don't appreciate it. So pretty much being told I'm going to die because my hemoglobin's dropping and I'm losing blood and my body isn't holding it. It was a eye opener. Like, I didn't even believe what reality was. I thought I was already dead, and I was waking up in like this fog, and, people are telling me this and that. I didn't even believe what was going on. I wasn't even in the right headspace, and all the drugs and all the surgeries and all of that. And even coming back and healing and being told that, I have, nerve damage, never be able to walk, squat, do anything again. And then within 8 months, getting a first call out at a pro show, it's wild. It really catapulted me to another level, mentally and spiritually, and every other possible way you could think of. And I don't know, man, it really seems like my old life left me that day I was shot, and I got this new one. And it was literally a second chance to do what I love. And then I look back at all the accomplishments since that time. I did go through hell, but I'm looking at it now and I'm like, karma is a real thing. I was rewarded for the things that have happened to me, and just focusing on being a better person as a whole and giving back to the sport. This just isn't just about me, and I know we talked a little bit earlier about, sport is very selfish, but you get to choose how selfish you want it to be.
Yeah. 100%.
I used to be the guy that I had to be isolated in a dark room, and I got to tell everybody I can't eat that, I'm zero carbon and all this. No, you could still, go out to a movie with your girl. Yeah. If you do get a cheat meal, go somewhere. You could, go bowling, whatever that you like to do. Go walk your dog outside. You don't have to be as miserable as some people make it, because at the end of the day, this is a choice. Yeah. Nobody's forcing you to do this with a gun to your head. So when people talk about going to war, going to battle, they're sacrificing and pushing themselves to this level. Yeah, I mean,
in the trenches.
In the
I mean,
trenches,
that's
bro.
the truth of it. Yeah, it's like you're not in the trenches. Like, and I think of the trenches, I'm thinking about like World War II, the 18-year-olds that were drafted and they're literally forced to be in the trenches.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is a choice. Nobody's forcing you to do this. If you want to do it in good faith. Don't do it because you want to get recognition from the other people that are excuse makers. Because we live in society to where now it's an excuse. Everything that people do, it's well, he only does it because the drugs he takes, or he has good genetics, or he has, so everybody wants to downplay it. And I see it a lot with people, even now that I have achieved a certain level. Well, he has no back. Okay. Well, I'm still a 2-time Olympian. I may have no back compared to guys who have really dominant backs, but I still have a back. But nobody wants to acknowledge the fact that I have a front, I have posing, I have symmetry, I have conditioning, I have structure. It's always what he doesn't have. And I remember this experiment that Einstein did, and he talked about how he had 10 problems on the board. And he did 9 of them correct. And then the 10th one, he purposely did wrong. And then the whole classroom was pointing out what he did wrong. Nobody wanted to tell him, oh yeah, you got 9 right. Nobody wanted to acknowledge the ones that he got right. They always wanted to point at the flaw that he had. And I find the same thing in bodybuilding. That's what I reference it to. I'm big on philosophy and like looking at some of this other stuff and seeing, using analogies a lot for my clients and things like that. So they can maybe understand it too, because this is bigger than just bodybuilding. It's about the mindset and the way that you project things and see them and apply them to your life. So I always say, I'm like, don't be the person that points out the negative. Every time I do a breakdown on Men's Physique Radio, I always start with a positive about what the guy has as a physique. What's good about it? Symmetry, conditioning, size, his back, whatever. But then I'll say, this can improve. This can improve. This can improve. And if I dissect somebody and say, oh, he needs a better back. Well, Drew doesn't have a back, so why is he telling other people they need a back? I'm like, well, I don't need to be a doctor to tell people that certain things that I read online, can apply to somebody else, or cigarettes are bad. You just know. And that's what I do. I try to break it down in the most valuable way for people to understand it, in a respectful way too, because delivery is important.
100%. Yeah. Cool. One thing I wanted to ask you as well. So obviously you touched on the fact that you got shot earlier. How would you say that has like really changed your mindset in regards to the way you approach life at the moment?
I mean, taking it for granted for so long. I was a really wild person. I just always thought I was untouchable. I would go out, I get in a lot of fights, I mouthed off. Somebody disrespected me. I was like, I'm going to disrespect you twice as hard. It was my pride. I couldn't let, somebody talk down to me. I had to go handle it. Now I'm at a point to where I realize I am invincible. I bleed just like everybody else. I came from a mama just like everybody else. Like, I am not superhuman, even though at times I feel like I am. Like, when you're shot and you're put on your ass, you're like, holy shit, this isn't like the movies. Because that's what I was actually thinking about when I was shot. I'm like, anybody that's in a movie that gets shot, like Rambo movies and all that, and they get shot in the leg or arm and they're running through the forest, I'm going to tell you guys what, if you're shot in real life, you ain't running nowhere. It's going to put you on your ass and it's going to humble you. You're like, and that's what I remember. I'm like, there's no way. You get winded, your ears are ringing. It's just, it's scary. It's a scary feeling. And I always remind myself of that. I got some PTSD from it, and I'm open about it because I go to therapy and I talk with the people that care about me about trying to, you don't ever forget it, but you learn how to cope with it a little bit better. And that's what I've kind of been doing. I've been coping with it a little bit better, and bodybuilding's definitely been an out. So my whole perspective changed just by taking life not for granted, knowing that I woke up today and I still have my days just like everybody else. I don't want to work out all the time. There's days I pull up to the gym and I'll go on my phone, and next thing you know, an hour goes by and I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to go to the gym. But, I hold myself accountable because I remind myself that I'm inspiring people. People want to talk to me. They want to get my viewpoint on certain things that I've dealt with, overcame, adversities, trials, tribulations. We all go through it. It just, people want to look at where I'm at and think everything's all good and dandy, but at times it wasn't in my life. And if I could overcome some of these things, I know other people can too, because my mindset was not always the best.
Yeah.
I think sharing what sort of these stories that can relate to so many other people helps them, like you said, helps them with their journeys. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, sure, man.
What was it like, moving on from that, what was it like to be like a co-host on like the biggest podcast, Men's Physique podcast around?
Well, not one of the biggest. It is the biggest based on subscribers for men's physique.
No, definitely. But and being with like top other Olympians, like you're with, you know what I mean? So it must be at first a surreal moment to be invited on or to be friends and the rest of it. So what's all that like?
So what started was I made a live a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, and Banks jumped on it. And me and Banks, we've always been friendly with each other. I wouldn't say friends or anything at that point, but we'd always tap in with each other. We're under the same coach. I've seen him at shows. I've always been supportive of any drama or bullshit he's been through. I always treated him for face value, regardless of everybody else talking shit or whatever. And we got to talking a little bit and seeing how he was like on the live, asking me about me, talking about cars, relating. Alex saw that because he was viewing it. We had like 80 people on it. And he's like, I like the way that you guys talk. We were like going over a show or something. So for years, I know he wanted to do something, and he just was trying to find the right people to do it. And, we decided, he asked us both and we said, yeah. And we started the first episode, and I just realized how good I was at being analytical about breaking down physiques, what I see, what I can look at. I really can dissect immediately and then explain while I'm navigating and where my eyes are going to. And it's just natural to me. And I know Banks is a little bit more cutthroat and to the point and blunt, but some people either love it or hate it. And for the most part, a lot of people enjoy it. And Alex is like the mediator. He keeps it going. He's a good speaker. He can relate. He's kind of down the middle with a lot of things, but that's kind of what we need. So we have 3 different personalities, and they grew on me. They became really, really good friends. And yeah, it's awesome, man. I don't treat them like any other people. They're normal people to me. We put on the camera, we bullshit. I don't get nervous to talk to them. They don't get nervous to talk to me. It's just, we're all a bunch of guys who really enjoy the sport of bodybuilding and just being able to we're big on mental health too. We had Daniel Ammons on there. We had Ryan Clark on there. We have a lot of guys that, we talk about some personal stuff, and the whole point of your guys' podcast is to know the deeper rooted truths in us as competitors. No matter how great you are, the greatest of all time, even Chris Bumstead or Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're going through some shit, but how many people are truly talking about it?
That's it.
So being able to talk about it is what our podcast is about. And that's what it is. Yeah.
100%, man. As I said earlier, like, we all have our own journey, and it's really good because your journey someone will be able to relate to your journey. Someone will be able to relate to James and mine. And then that way we can help somebody like that in the position we were in before. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the nature of that's the good thing about these things, But one thing I want to do with you, Drew, because obviously you spoke about your physique reviews. James, what do you think?
He's very physique reviews. He's very very analytical, and it's like when you speak about a physique, it's like you've got this paragraph written and you've got these bullet points and you just tick through and you just go through it logically.
I usually take notes. I dissect it. I do my homework.
Yeah.
I do my homework. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, let's go for it, Isaac.
Yeah, let's go for it. So we're gonna do, Drew. We're gonna put up some like up and coming UK competitors.
Oh, I thought you were gonna put yourself up.
No, I'll do that as well. Yeah, we can do that too. But we'll do some up and coming UK competitors, and then we're touching ourselves. Well, I might as well do that, right? Because I think it's gonna be really good, because people from the UK, we look at you guys in the States and we love what you guys are doing. So I think it's also going to be really, I think people are going to love it, just seeing you kind of give them some feedback on their physique and see what they can work on in the future.
But you look at it,
awesome.
Drew's seeing like all the best physiques in the world, and not just on screens, because I found out firsthand, like, when I went to my first pro show, I took a
different
backstage. I was like, what the fuck? But as an amateur, like when I turned pro, I was one of the biggest guys. And then I've turned pro, and it's like, oh shit, I'm like 14 pounds under my cap, one of the smallest guys on stage. So it's, like you said earlier, you're like a big fish, and then you just break back to the bottom, and then straight back to the bottom. So it was very eye-opening. But I think people don't actually realize how big, how good, how conditioned, how fucking good the guys are in pro fucking life. Like the amateur level to the pro level, there's a massive difference. Yeah, massive.
Big.
Unless you're one in the million that really do it. But for the most part, that's why I hate like doing a lot of these reviews or not even reviews, but seeing other people do their commentary on physiques when I know how these guys look in person and there is bad lighting and there is such a thing. And you could tell. It's the same thing with like Sam Sulek. There were certain angles that they were posting of him at his first show and then the second. And it just gets so misconstrued. And that's when people just think that they could say whatever they want. And ultimately they can, but they're saying it with no blueprint or facts to their opinion. I like to believe that I have my opinion, but it's based on the facts. It's based on, let's say, a criteria. So if I'm giving my breakdown of a physique, right? You guys are going to show me physiques. I'm going to give my breakdown based on not other people or the top guy or Ryan Terry, or because he's the standard. I'm giving it based on what the criteria is, which is size, symmetry, shape, conditioning, and just structure. Not what I personally feel, because there's a lot of guys in this sport that I personally think I have great physiques. Mauro Fiola, one of my favorite physiques. If he could be, if there could be a Mr. Olympia based on who I like, I would like him. And I don't think I even place higher than him. And I'm just like, it's crazy, but I truly look at his physique and I see art. Like that's a physique that I would love to have, right?
Yeah.
But it's not what I want. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Who have you got? Have you got anyone already?
I've got Tomas.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, cool. So this guy here is 1 week into prep, believe it or not. And he is I think how many weeks out is he? 10 weeks
1
out?
week into prep for a show, or just in prep, his first prep ever?
No, 1 week into prep for
Yeah. I was gonna say he's been prepping for a minute. Yeah.
What do you think so far? Obviously, lighting.
So he looks good, but no, it's not even about the lighting because I have an eye for it. So the biggest thing I'm going to say is he has bigger obliques, like lower obliques. That's why his hand's kind of covering it. His symmetry is good. I feel like his physique, with being arm dominant and having big round shoulders and having wider clavicles, if he angled, it would have him more tapered. I feel like the straight on pose, there's only a few people that can pull it off. Daniel Ammons, Ryan Terry, Jeremy Potvin, Diogo. When they pull it off, they can, because they don't have like the obliques that are hanging over. So
I agree.
I remember he's covering it up, but he needs to angle it a little bit more.
I remember when Banks hit it and you grilled him. Was it the
that looks better? Yeah, that looks better. Yeah. He reminds me of what's his name that got second to Banks in Dubai. He has a very similar
MJ.
Yeah. He in that pose, he looks dope. Yeah. He needs, like, he doesn't, I'm not seeing the oblique detail. Could be the lighting, but he brings those obliques in and angles a little bit more to where it's a side Superman. That would look better. But as far as chest, shoulders, and lats, and just the overall taper, he's got a solid dope look.
Yeah, man. So obviously he's still an amateur. So obviously the goal for him this year is to get this pro card. Which is how would you say he's looking towards that?
I mean, he has pro size. It's going to come down to shape, because, you know, when you look at people individually, obviously they're going to look great. It's almost like, how can this guy lose until they're next to somebody? Let's say there's a guy that has a smaller waist, but he's not as big. He might appear bigger just because of his structure, and it's an illusion. So it really depends on the lineup that you're next to, because there's times that I've posted on Instagram my back pose and people are like, how do people say that your back is bad? It's like, because in comparison, you're only as good as the lineup you're in. You could have great abs. I got great abs, but if I'm next to Ali in a lineup, my abs aren't going to look that great because his are going to overpower mine. So when you compare a physique like his, it's really hard to, because you don't know who's going to show up. You don't know the quality of the lineup, but I would say just his overall look, without even seeing his back, his front is a pro level front.
Sick.
It is 100%. A pro caliber front, 100%.
Yeah.
Now the back is where it gets a little bit different.
He doesn't really have another back pose here, I don't think so. But yeah, man,
his arms are very dominant.
Yeah, do you know what? Because I've coached him before, and that's one of the things that I told him: be careful of your arms. He's gone to a different coach, but I told him if you blow out your arms, man, it's a sticky one where you can really ruin the look.
It can make the shoulders look a little smaller because the arms and
exactly. It's a good point you made about Ali. I remember I competed against him 2023 in in Alicante, bro, and I was next to him. I was like, fuck.
No matter how good your abs are, he's the ab king. And Ryan Terry used to be the ab king, and I still think he has really dry, grainy abs, separation, all of that. But Ali has a prettier structure. His abs are even. Ryan Terry kind of has the gap in the middle, but he tries to minimize it by the way that he angles. And it's the same way with that other guy that you just showed me. He has to angle it, like can't do straight on.
Yeah. No, Ali's definitely a work of art when it comes to his abs. This is
now see how he's angling it. He's angling it. That looks better.
Yeah, so this guy is again from the UK, where another top runner to get in the pro card this year. That's his goal. How would you say his physique looks?
It looks really good. Now, as far as the posing with the hands, you need to close the hands a little bit. It's distracting when you leave your hands open. It's the first thing that I noticed. Another thing is focus on the legs. Got to bring up the legs. His upper body is so dominant that when you look at something like this, imagine a silhouette, even if his physique was blacked out, you have to think about the overall completeness, because there will be guys that look just as big up top in condition, and it could be a deciding factor. And legs aren't judged, as a separate like judging criteria, but it's part of the whole physique. It runs fluent with the whole physique, so it needs to match. So with the legs being underdeveloped compared to the upper body, it could potentially hurt him. As far as the rest of his physique, nice full chest, taper, the way that he's angling, it looks really good. Watch the arms. Don't want the arms too big. You want it to flow with the rest. The ab detail is great. I'm sure it's only going to get better too. I just read his thing, 750 carbs. I mean, he's full as a house. I mean, he knows. It's just to really nitpick, because you know how it is at the pro level, like or trying to get a pro card. They all look great. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes down to getting a pro card, it's like meat in the middle of a pack of wolves. Everybody's gunning for it. Everybody's coming 100%. Everybody's giving it their all. Everybody's working hard when they think everybody else isn't working hard as them. Everybody's working just as hard. So when it comes down to it, I'm nitpicking the smallest things. I think his pose is great. Just got to balance out the legs a little bit more. And especially when he goes pro, you got to remember, you start back at the bottom, it's definitely going to be something. And it's not the quads, it's more so the calves.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, because you can see here, he's got
quads are good.
Quads are good. It's definitely the calves. That's one thing I've been banging like crazy this offseason, man. But, because, we're going to get that calves up. His back isn't too bad either, to be fair.
He's got good muscle bellies. He just needs to pose a little bit more. And I always tell people, and this is the problem that I had, if your arms are too low and relaxed, you're not really engaging anything. If they're too high, you're engaging your traps too much. You have to really imagine pulling your sternum to the roof and really kind of leaning back, but not too much to where you got the rolls in your lower back. That's kind of what I look at, because it's like if I'm, especially my off season, I got a little bit more fat, but you want to make sure that you're flexing it enough, but not over flexing. I feel like right here, he's not flexing it enough.
Yeah, just need to
you can see his traps engaging, but the lower, I feel like he'll pop a little bit more. You got to squeeze it.
Yeah.
All in all, a good back though. Good taper. His waist is small. He's got a lot of density in that upper trap. Just bring up the lower lats a little bit.
He has actually made some crazy gains in his back, man, because his back was not looking like this like last year. He took a whole year off because he's one of my good friends. So took a whole year off. See if we can find a good comparison. I think he did a comparison.
Yeah, I was seeing some of the side by sides when he was like, it showed him when he was. I was looking. That's crazy. He grew a chest. He always had good arms. He has the taper and the small waist. He just I was the same way. I was very wide structurally. So I would flatten out when I opened, kind of how he is on the left here. Like he's wide, but when he opens, that chest is just kind of dissipating. So now that he added that size, it looks a lot better, more complete.
100%. Yeah, man. Keep doing your stuff, Kyle. I know he's gonna watch this, so he's gonna definitely
look. No, he's got a really dope look.
Sick. James, do you want us to touch on anyone?
John Paul Samson,
Bolvis.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, I critique every single division besides mainly women divisions, but I don't coach women, but I do bodybuilding, classic, all of that. I'm a huge open bodybuilding fan as well.
So let me see if we can get him. This season is off season now, but let's get a picture of him when he was on stage. I think that's a good one. This is James.
I'm seeing a couple.
Let's get up this one.
He looks good. He just needs, so he's another guy, really full chest, really full triceps. He's got the long tricep muscle bellies that look good when they're relaxed. He needs to keep hammering those shoulders. The arms are looking very dominant. Yeah. And the shoulders probably aren't that weak, but they appear weak because of his arms being so dominant. Really tight core. It's just going to obviously get sharper as time goes on. Yeah. Really, really full chest. And that's another reason why he needs to bring up the shoulders, because the chest is so full and the arms are so full that the shoulders look like they lag a little bit. So when he brings up those shoulders, he could probably even get away with a Aaron Banks pose to where both arms are down a little bit, because that almost looks like he's forcing it a little bit, and he has longer limbs. So you got to kind of go with what fits your physique. So it's one of those things that play around with. But as far as the muscle mass, the conditioning, I mean, it's there. It's just small things, just add in those Canon delts. Just imagine him right now with delts that were just rounder. True. How much better that physique would look. It would just look so much more of an X frame. 100%. Spread out the feet a little bit more too. It seems like his feet are too close together. Spread out the feet a little bit more, and that right leg bended a little.
Nice.
It would give them more of an X frame instead of like a martini glass that comes up. You want to focus on the overall picture. That's why legs come into play. So you want to have that overall X frame.
Yeah. Now that makes sense. That was a really good analysis, to be honest. And that's exactly what I would say with him when I because I know him as well. So I'll tell him, bro, shoulders need to work. But that's one thing is working on his off season. But big potentials with him, big potential.
Yeah, and I see all these other photos too. I mean, even he's full, and it's hard to kind of hit shoulders without hitting everything else. Like you're going to always get chest from shoulders too. So it's almost about finding the right movements that are going to kind of take your triceps out of it, take your chest out of it. You want to really be able to push. Back is really, really good. Almost like a Dustin Elvis back. He has the really, really dense upper traps. The lower detail's really good, but he's a prime example of what I was talking about earlier. If the arms are too high, it doesn't show the lats tapered as much. If he lowered his arms a little bit more, to where it's not like he's not doing enough, but right here, he's doing too much. If you do too much, it takes away from the width. If you do too little, it's really taken away from everything. If he lowered those arms a little bit more, it would really have those lats sit, and even the lower lat, like see how the lower lats look a little bit more shallow here with the lines. That's because his arms are so high and he's putting all of that tension and isolation on that upper back. And you see his shoulders engage a lot too. It would look more complete with his arms down a little bit more.
It's just getting a fine balance, because I feel like with people, you have to play around with it a little bit, because some people look good with their elbows a little bit slightly higher. Some people look good with elbows a little bit slightly lower. Like for example, Ebanks in the at the Arnolds. So initially when it came out, hitting his back pole, his arms was quite high. Even I saw that, I was like,
and you know what? I noticed that too, because I talked to Alex. I called him right after. I kind of give Banks a space because I don't know what mind frame he's going to be in. Yeah. But I did say that he's a guy that has such a dominant back that it can never really look bad. But the problem that I noticed is when his arms were up high, his shoulders pop so much they look like basketballs, and you can't lose proportion in men's physique. It needs to be balanced. If you look at Ryan Terry, there's nothing that specifically pops out at you. He's just so balanced. It's not like his shoulders are insane or his arms are insane or his chest. It's so balanced and really well put together that you have to look at his physique as an overall thing. Like Banks specifically, like there's certain muscle groups that are crazy. It's the same thing with Ali. Like his abs are so crazy. Like, and he did improve his front a lot, but he's known for his abs, right?
So this is James right here. This is the co-host. Man like James.
I'm the host, baby.
What's with you guys in the arms over there? Y'all got some arms.
Hey, man, we got them yams, bro.
Yeah. You got a good back.
Yeah,
keep widening out the shoulders. The triceps, it's the same thing. Your triceps and your arms are really dominant. That it's not necessarily that the shoulders are weak. They could just appear weak. Yeah. And you got to drop that shoulder a little bit. It seems like it's kind of pinched up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like when you're practicing, just kind of square up a little bit, and then the hand on the hip, do it a little bit lower and drop that elbow. Okay. I think it would look a little bit more fluent. All in all, man, you got a crazy back. If I had your back, I'd win Olympia.
I'll be at Olympia. Isaac, go to one of the show ones.
Let's have a look. Yeah, let's have a look at the show one. But yeah, man, you should.
How long ago was that?
That was yesterday.
Oh shit, you're off season, huh?
No, he's just
you got some slabs of beef on your back.
He's 5 weeks into prep.
Same thing. You still got your core, everything. And I always wanted to stress this to people. When you're in your off season, make sure that you could still see the outline of your abs. There's no reason to be pushing 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds over your stage weight, especially for men's physique. You want to stay in shape. You want to stay ready. Because then when you drop down, how much of that is really going to be the new tissue that you added? It's not. It's going to be a lot of water, and you want your skin to stay tight.
Isaac, go to the one before the show. No, go down.
No, let me know. Tell me to stop.
Go down. It's the one outside that we keep.
All right, yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Damn, where is funny post? This one.
There it is. Yeah.
This is
what are your stats? Like, how tall are you? What is your stage weight?
Just under 6 foot. So my cap's 98, but I weighed in the first show at 91. This show I weighed in at 93 or 94. So this was the few hours before stage.
Yeah. So another critique that I would have, especially seeing that you're in stage, you're lean, but in order to be, I would say more in the mix at a pro level, you need to be dry shredded. So there's levels to it. And obviously it comes with, muscle maturity, diet, genetics, and things like that. And a lot of guys that push their conditioning, guys that are really conditioning, sometimes they don't have size because they're sacrificing so much of that muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Everything is there. It's just dialing it in a little bit more to be a little bit sharper. And you see how a lot of these guys are. I mean, they're peeled out of their mind, especially like at the pro level. It's a lot crazier in person. You have a really good back. Like your back alone, if you got 5% drier, you would hold your own.
Yeah.
The front, it's your shoulders. Actually, here your shoulders look it just the left one looks a little offset. Feel like you got to drop it a little bit. You got a really dope structure. Your core is really good. Just finer details, fine tuning. It's almost like the structure on Instagram. You want to just make sure you're a little bit drier and just a little bit more etched out, because in comparison to the other guys, you're going to stand out with that. And you have the height. You're a big guy on stage. You're going to take up a lot of stage space. So give them something to look at and give them the conditioning to where there's nothing they can really say.
Yeah, that's been the goal. That's the goal this year, literally, just to make sure my condition's comparable. Because I actually managed to nick first call outs to my first show. And I was softer than this one. So to know, even when I wasn't on fully as I should be, I can still, battle it out. So I think once I take off a bit more from there, we should be hopefully in a lineup with you soon enough.
Yes, go.
Your calling card is fullness. So it's hard for guys either have the conditioning to where they get super conditioned and then they're not as full, or they're super, super full and they struggle with the conditioning. So me, I win shows because I'm known for conditioning. But once I added the fullness to the conditioning, that's when I really started to take off. So it's a matter of finding the balance between the both. And that's where it's useful. Be ready before a show. So then you can kind of do trial and errors with your coach and kind of see how you react to certain foods, certain high, low glycemic carbs, whatever it may be. Your body processes things a lot faster when you're in a prep. That's why it's harder to be satisfied with a lot of food that you're eating. So just kind of seeing how things will soak up in your body.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm on it. I'll catch you in Toronto.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So this is me off season, obviously.
Big man.
Still a bit, obviously, soft through the abs, but this is the off-season look at the moment. Well, I've started prep only a week and a half. But yeah, so that's how I'm looking.
What's your height and weight?
So I'm 5'9", and I weighed, this was when I was 97, 98. Really?
Okay.
98. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're really full.
Yeah.
You're really bubbly. You got a really full chest, really, really full everywhere. And you're really balanced too. You don't have as long of a torso.
No.
So it's shorter. So you got to be careful with where you're putting your size. I would say size wise, you're good. As far as like an off season, I wouldn't be pushing anymore. It's more or less like maintaining and really training hard in the gym. So then you could kind of get that grittiness. So a lot of the grainy muscle texture comes from training heavy and hard.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you see a lot of these guys that may not have it. It's not like the 90s, like even the open bodybuilders, they're bubbly, but they come in and they're shredded, but they lack like the grain, like the gritty textures, right? Like you don't see too many Branch Warren guys. I mean, Derek and Samson are a good comparison for the conversation right now. Derek is a guy who's grainy, like 90 shredded, and Samson's a guy who has, more of the modern day conditioning. Obviously carries a lot more size, but you see how conditioning can make somebody look bigger, especially when they're giving up 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm trying to get, I'm going to get a show. Is it this? No.
Yeah.
Let me get another one. I think I had one. Recently.
When was the last show you did?
I took a year out. I did a show 2023, and I just took time off just to, had a crazy year last year. So it was more just for the mental, to be honest, man, just to make sure I can get right mentally. Is this it? No, that's not. Sorry. I'm a coach. I got a little.
Was that you in the black and yellow shorts? Is that you?
This is me. Yeah.
Let me see that one. Yeah, you're gonna have the same exact thing as James. It's gonna be conditioning. So you have the bubbly look, you have the full look, you have it's just a matter of so do you train abs?
I used to not train abs, but now
Okay.
obviously last year I train abs quite regularly now.
It's going to bring the detail out a little bit more, and it's something that I never did either. But once I started training them, it's you're going to see a lot more tightness and more of a contraction. It's the same thing with any muscle group. If you stop training something, you don't have the deep detail, and that's another thing. Obviously, you could still drop some body fat, but where you're placing where you are because of your structure and your fullness. You're a structure fullness guy. Now, if you nail the conditioning with the structure and the fullness, you're going to be in that mix. Who is that next to you? Ricardo Croce?
Yeah, look at him.
Yeah.
Ricardo, that's amazing.
Now he's a guy that does not have a good structure from the back, but you see how you're holding your own because of your shape and your structure. So imagine your physique in this lineup with that conditioning, you would win that show.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a puzzle piece. You got to have everything together, and that's just one of the variables that you have. And where you're placing right now is because of your fullness. So you could come in a little bit off with conditioning, but you're still in the mix because of your structure and your fullness and symmetry and everything else.
Work in terms of conditioning from this, you can definitely see it.
Yeah.
As one of the main things that I wanted to focus on, that I'm going to focus on this year, is just absolutely native.
We all have our thing. If there was nothing to focus on, then we would have no point in bodybuilding, because then there'd be nothing to improve on, right? So, I mean, it's one of the things that you recognize, and that's why I like critiquing, because this is a critique sport. You get better by asking for opinions and being around people that know what they're talking about, not asking your mom or your best friend because they're going to tell you look great, but you got to ask people that know what they're talking about.
What you said about having like that missing puzzle piece.
Yeah.
When I was an amateur, you could kind of get away with missing one piece and get away with everything else. But now that
because everybody's better. Everybody's better. Yeah. You could get away.
Miss a fucking massive piece like that because it stands up, because 5 other guys have that, level of conditioning that's quite a bit sharper than me.
Yeah. You look dope here.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I think this is your best look.
Yeah, this was my best look. Yeah, 100%.
Still, you definitely could tell that you added more size, but when you added more size, you didn't look as dry.
Yeah, I pushed for condition in the last comp that you saw. I'm not conditioned for size. And this was just trying to get as lean as possible. Yeah. I was surprised how full I was able to still look, even though I was a lot leaner.
Because your calling card is being full. That's what it is. When guys are really, really full, you're not going to lose it. Your muscle density isn't going to go anywhere. Even if you feel like it is, it's not, because that's part of your genetics. So thank your mom and dad for that. Just gotta push it. You just don't push the size anymore. It seems like size is easy for you to add. The hard part for you is conditioning. So you just gotta stay within a certain a weight for your show, and maybe start prep a little bit earlier and let everything do its thing. And, week by week, that's what you got to do.
100%, man.
Focus on the hardness. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started prep a week ago. We're doing a 20-week prep this time. And I'm ready, man. I'm ready more than ever before. I think last year was like a year, as I said to you, to get my mental health right, because I lost a sibling and my older sister. So for me, it was like my head was all over. So I was like, you know what? It's probably not the best thing to go into a competition. So I was like, let me just spend a year growing, spend a year just getting my mental right. But I feel better than ever to attack it this year, man. So that's it. It's one of them.
Taking a step back is probably the best thing that you could do. And obviously, you still got to put the work in. You can't just take like a vacation, because the sport, what happens is a lot of guys step back from it.
Yeah.
And then the sport keeps evolving as you stay in the same place. And you see a lot of these guys come back and they don't do that well. They still do good, but they're not where they were. You got to stay with it. And sometimes you have to take the break to maximize. I wanted to do the Arnold this year, but I'm like, why would I do the Arnold if I know I could still improve my back? I'm not going to go into a show to take 4th, 5th, 6th place. I want to go into where I know I have everything I need to stay with the best and hang with the best. So I made the decision to just hold off and keep my off season going as much as I can, to where I could put all my eggs in one basket for a show that counts, go to Olympia with momentum. Still going to hit some big shows. The goal is to qualify early and then do, a Tampa Pro title sounds good. Texas sounds good. Like a lot of these big shows I'd like to add to the resume. Tampa for sure, because it was my pro debut show. I want to win at my pro debut show. So
Tampa
that was 2020.
Tampa is the one in Florida, isn't it? I might be doing it, actually.
Yeah. That's a big show. That's the one that Andre Ferguson won my pro debut. And I remember going there, and, he was like 6 shorts because they were his from Dark Sport. And I remember being like starstruck by these guys. And now I bullshit with them and call them on the phone and we talk. And it's like same thing with Sadiq, Jeremy Potvin, Banks, like all these guys, like even Jay Cutler. Like it's crazy to think that, you know, I was a fan watching these guys in high school. Well, majority of these guys, and now being, you know, where I'm at now, and yeah, just treating them like normal people, you know. So
that's it, man. At the end of the day, go for it.
Are you doing the Dubai show?
Dubai, the thing with that is it's very hard for me to peak. And then on top of it, I'm traveling a lot. So it's kind of hard for me. I'm going to stay local and try to qualify early. You know, Toronto's only like a 5-6 hour drive for me. You know, I gotta go back to back on them like Drake.
Yeah, back to back. I like it. Yeah, man. Sick.
But I know you have MPR soon, so I won't keep you too long. But so one more question. So like we tried to have like a finishing tip from our guest.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what advice would you give to an athlete like ourselves, or even an athlete that's a amateur, or even just yourself at a younger age to progress in the sport, and I guess everything else in life?
Yeah. So my advice is always a little bit different. Depends on where the conversation's going. And I don't like living by just one code of advice, right? It's always different. I would say one of the biggest things that I could give myself is go at your own pace. You know, we live in a society of social media now to where we're influenced by everything that we see. We see people that have better physiques. We see guys that have cooler cars than us, bigger houses, you know, whatever it may be. And we're constantly comparing and we feel like we're behind the 8 ball because other people are more advanced or further in life or whatever. We don't know their story. It really doesn't matter. We just look at it and it can discourage us. So the biggest thing is if you're watching this and you're, you know, you aspire to be a pro, or let's say competing isn't for you, but you're just a fan of the sport, who knows? Go at your own pace, go to the gym, give 110%, start with small goals and build up to it. And then just, you know, don't let other people influence you. Don't listen to what other people say, positive, even negative sometimes, you know, go at your own pace. You know, I have this little voice that I always hear in the back of my head that kind of tells me, like, you know, when you got a feeling that something's off, you know, like devil's advocate, like do this, do that. Like I just realize that inner voice I'm going to start listening to a little bit more. So, you know, for me, the voice was telling me, hey, listen, take a year off, focus on what you have to do, especially, for example, after the Olympia, when I was doing, you know, I was planning on doing Hurricane. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do Hurricane. I'm going to qualify early. You know, and this voice in the back of my head was like, you know what? You brought your best to Olympia. Just sit it out. And I'm like, but if I sit it out, I'm going to regret it because I could have won it, could have qualified, could have, would have, should have, all of that. I'm going to sit back and say I should have done it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring the same look. So I wanted to maximize my whole off season so I could bring in a better look. So where I'm not showing the judges the same exact look, I'm letting the people that say that I have no back, I'm letting it fuel me. And just like anybody else out there that's listening to this, let the negative fuel you. You don't have to go on socials. You don't got to talk about what you're going to do, what you're about. You don't got to, you know, make stories or whatever. Just do the thing, because at the end of the day, it's going to do the talking for you. And there's always going to be a hater. They're going to argue 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. As long as humans exist, there's going to be something somebody could argue that goes against what you believe in. And it is what it is. I just let the truth speaks for itself by the work that I put out.
100%. Sick. 100%. That's great, man. It's been a pleasure having you on, Drew. Really.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, guys. We'll definitely do it again too. I definitely want to do it again with you guys.
100%.
Maybe when we get closer to a show and whatnot, you know, I could go over updates and things like that. And then any other questions that you guys have, or if these guys like the physique reviews and things like that, we'll definitely have to do more of that.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. Great to have you back on. And maybe grab a session in Toronto if you pump up on everything before the show.
Absolutely. I'm always for it, man. You know, I love this sport. I don't walk around like I don't got time for people. I love being a part of it. And, you know, the hard work's all done. We all come together. We do these shows. Like, if you got to walk around like you're a dick and you got to stick up your ass, that's not enjoyment. You know, it is what it is. All the guys that are in the first call out are usually bullshitting backstage anyways. It's the guy that's in the corner acting like he's going to war, who's taking last call out. And then he's going to go home and complain about how the judges overlooked him. But it is what it is. You know, you got to just leave it all out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those. The guys that are actually doing well in sport, the guys that are the chillest.
Do you notice that? The ones that are most chill, that are like, they know what they're bringing. That's why they're kind of like, listen, I could sit here and say another guy looks good. It takes nothing away from me. Certain guys can't compliment other guys because they think it takes away from them, which it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of guys that I think look great that may not beat me. It doesn't change that they look great.
True facts.